Hi, my name is Bob Brown and welcome to my 8mm channel. One of the problems back in the day was most people had silent cameras. If it was regular 8 or Super 8, they were mostly silent. So you'd sit there afterwards and watch a silent movie. How boring is that? But that's pretty much all you had at the time. There was sound, but pretty much nobody had sound movies. Well, there is a way to take that boring movie and make it more fun, more enjoyable, and that's what I want to establish today, and hopefully provide some tips or suggestions to give you ideas on how you can make your movies more enjoyable. What I did was this. I took small segments, very short clips out of 3 of my movies. I'm going to show you right now, first the silent version and then the enhanced version. Then I'll do that 2 more times with 2 different movies. The last one I kind of went hog wild on. And afterwards, I'm going to show you how you can do that yourself. And I'll also show you where you can get all kinds of sound effects and clips and things of that nature for free. So let's take a quick look at these.
What are you gonna do? I'm gonna go up there. You wait back there. What are you looking at? What's the plan? Where? Shoot them dead.
As you could see, there's quite a difference between the silent version and the sound version. To me, the sound version is way more enjoyable. Even some of the graphics help. Well, you can do the same thing yourself. Back in the day, we used to get roped into watching these silent movies, and they were boring. And what I mean by that is, if you went to visit someone and they just went on vacation and they don't tell you that they had movies they were going to show you, you'd go there and they go, "Hey, we have some home movies we'd like to see. You want to watch them with us?" And what are you supposed to say? No? So you, yes. But they were boring, and the only thing that went through my head was, well, obviously that didn't happen, so I'm here today to do this. And with today's technology, you can do wonders with these movies. One of the things I want to talk about now is how to prepare yourself for adding in your sound effects and graphics and whatever you want to do with the movie. And what I do is I watch the movie and then create an outline, something to follow. I know a list of all the things I'm going to need. Here's what I'm talking about. Here's an example of my to-do list. The first thing is under Gunslinger's audio list. That refers to my voiceovers. I create these characters that I want inside that movie. The first one was from when those three guys came walking in from left to right, and I just had this guy, when he looked away from the camera, I had him say, "What are you looking at?" Something like that. And then I do something similar for everything else that's on that list. The next section of my list is effects. When I watch the movie, I figure out what effects I want to use. In this case, it was Western guns. I had 3 of them. A rifle sound, spurs, walking on gravel. I need falling on the gravel. I also need rolling in the dirt. And when I say rolling in the dirt, I refer to that guy who got shot and he went, "Oh!" and he hit the ground. And that's one particular sound. But also, if you remember, the doctor turns that guy over. Well, that sound of him turning over is the rolling on the ground part. I'm going to go over that later on how I came up with that effect. I also needed some sort of ambient sound. As you saw, there was quite a few people out there, so you want to have the sound, or at least I did, the sound of a crowd. It's nice because you can also bury all the other sound effects or blend them in with that crowd, so it sounds like it's more effective and like you're really there. Then I knew I needed some music. At least I wanted to put some in there. And I wanted to find something that was really a lot like an old Western movie, which included a harmonica. And then finally, there's the graphics. I needed some opening credits. Those are cards. That's what I call them. And I also needed some bullet holes. The bullet holes I found online, and the cards I made in Photoshop. Now let's take a look at where you can get your graphics, sound effects, and music for free. You can even get the same editing program that I use for free. It's DaVinci Resolve 18. If you're interested in that, I'll put it in the description below, a link for that. Anyway, let's go ahead and see how I obtain my graphics and all that stuff, and music and everything. And be careful, because I'm going to show you a website that it's absolutely free with no strings attached. However, a lot of places say they're free, and when you use them, YouTube snags it. Their algorithm or whatever they use to catch stuff that is supposed to be copyrighted and stuff like that, they catch it and then you can't use it. So anyway, the website that I show you, it doesn't have those issues. So let's take a look at that. My goal was to add sound effects, music, and images to my existing 8mm movies. I also created a folder system to house all of those media files. These folders do not include whatever I made inside of Photoshop. This is my folder system. I call the main folder royalty-free. This is an example of just one of the folders inside of my royalty-free folder. Freesound is one of the websites I use to get my music and sound effects. Inside of the Freesound folder are more folders. I place my music and sound effects in those folders. Notice they're labeled to identify what's in each folder. It's just a simple way to stay organized. One of the things you can do is make your own sound effects. I do that as well. But for the vast majority of stuff, it's easier just to go to a site where they already created most of those sound effects and music. The one I use is freesound.org. Let's take a look at that right now. I'm on freesound.org. This is my favorite site for grabbing sound effects and music, mostly because the quality's excellent. On top of that, it's royalty-free and there's no issues with copyright problems with YouTube. I've never had an issue with this site or any of the recordings from this site ever. Anyway, it's freesound.org right up here. Just type that in there. If you're not a member, you're going to have to join, and it's real simple. You just create a username and password. I think it's all you need to make an account. It's been a while since I've done it. Every here and there, they're going to ask you to make a donation. They do it through a pop-up. Look, if you're only going to use it once or twice, then, don't bother. However, I downloaded quite a few audio tracks from this site, so I did do a donation of $50. I thought it was well worth it. Anyway, it's real simple to use, and that is you just type in to the search box and you type in, let's say, for example, ambient sound. That's where I have it there. Also, on the cover page, as you can see, they have the newest sound effects and music and stuff like that, and you can sample those, but I look for very specific things, so I really don't use that very much. But just to give you an idea, what is this? I don't know what this is. Oh yeah. Oh, that's pretty good right there. That's a good ambient sound depending on whatever your movie is. You get the idea. So here's the ambient sound up here, and just hit the search bar and it'll bring you to all of the ambient sounds. You type in whatever you want. Baby crying, train, horn, bicycle, anything you can think of, you can type in there, and there will be something related to that in here. So you just kind of look through what you want. Ambient space sound? No, I don't think so. Here we go, rain sound and rainforest. And then what you do is sample it right here. Hit the button. I gotta say, that is pretty good. There's a lot in here that are just awful. But here's the thing, the quality on all of these are really good. So if you want this one, let's say, for example, let's say which one, that will go for the rain sound and forest one. You just click on that link and then it'll bring you to the download page, and then you just simply click on it and it will download, which is, I think what that one is down there. So just click download. Yeah, I already did that. And it goes to your download folder, and that's that. I do a lot of my visual effects inside of Photoshop. However, I do also like to grab a lot of visual effects off of my favorite source, and that is Google Images. Let's take a look at that. Just type in images.google.com. As an example, in my Western movie, I used bullet holes. This is where I got them. I typed in bullet holes PNG free. The PNG stands for Portable Network Graphic. Why it's named that? I don't have a clue. I don't know why they didn't name it something like, I don't know, IWT, Image with Transparency. They didn't do that, so this is what it is. Once you type that in, go ahead and select the search icon, which will take you to the page with all of the bullet hole images. Now you just have to sort through them and figure out which one you want. The reason I put free in there is because that way you can avoid watermarks on the images. So if I go through these, I can look for one that would suit me best. Let's see. The kind I would want is one that has full transparency, and that way I don't have to go into Photoshop and select that bullet hole and then mask it and then remove it and then create an image with. I mean, it's just a pain in the neck when you could just find the image you want with transparency. And the only thing you might have to do is cut out that one particular bullet or bullets. And if you look over here, that's the one I would grab right there. Right click on it then, once you've picked the image you want. Go to Save Image As. And you're going to get like a really weird name. Also, it says .webp. Just ignore all of that and get rid of it. Here's all I'm going to do. Bullets.png. As you can see, I've already typed that in there, but I'm going to now go save. I'm going to cancel it because I already saved it, but that's all you do, and just select save. Even if you change the suffix on it, it really is a PNG, so it'll show properly. So now let's take a look at that image. Save that to my desktop, and there it is, bullets.png. And double click, and there it is. Now let's go back again and pick something else. Let's go backwards and let's type in, let me think for a second here, bowling pins. Let's see, I want a graphic of that. And let's go to PNG, and there they are. It looks like a combination of clip art, fine art, photos, and whatever. Also, notice there's no watermarks on anything. That's because we use the word free in the search bar. I think this is the one I used on mine. This one right here. Now let's take a look on how we can use these effects. I'm going to try and do this really quickly because otherwise it's going to take forever. Here's a breakdown of everything I did in my movie. One of the most important things to me is to stay organized because you don't want to get lost and try to figure out where you're at, where your tracks are at, and everything else like that. The way I stay organized is I put everything in order. As you can see here, this is the soundtrack right here. The first thing you hear is a projector, then you hear a rifle, a gunshot again, another gunshot. Here's the projector right here. That's that track. Then here's another gunshot, or that's the rifle I mean, and these are gunshots. Each soundtrack matches up with its video clip, which is right here. Bullet hole, bullet hole, bullet hole, bullet hole, and bullet hole. My first video track I call main. It's my main track. Then above that, I don't name anything. I just start putting things in as I go along. Everything you see here resides in the media pool. That's where I put all of my audio and video tracks, and still pictures in some cases, like the bullet holes. The first thing I like to do is put in a black frame. Then the next thing is my first title card. I'll click on it right here, and I'll move the playhead so you can see it at the top. And there it is. I create a transition, which is a cross dissolve. I just come into the effects, which are over here, drag it and put it right on top of there. And that's the effect from the beginning into the card. Then after that, I put in a black frame. The reason I put a black frame in there, right over here, is because this first card is not normally in any of my movies, but I just wanted to provide some information about this movie. And of course, there it says at the top, this old 8mm excerpt was originally silent and in color. All changes in this version were strictly for fun. All right, so the next thing you see is nothing. It's a black frame because I wanted the projector to start before you saw anything. And I also created a effect where everything looks scratchy. That's this right here. That's called an adjustment clip. You take this clip and drag it above whatever clip you're going to make that effect for, and then add in the effects. I'm not going to go into how to make the effects and everything because that's not what this is about. I'm just showing you the steps I took to put together that movie. So let's move the playhead a little bit. And if you can see, if you look at the top, there's a scratch line and you'll see little speckles appear. And you hear the sound of the projector. So let's do that. Okay, and then you have the gunshot, the first gunshot you see. This card here, and by the way, I turned everything black and white within the adjustment clip. The clip is really color. So if I turn off this adjustment clip, now look at the top. That's the original card. With the adjustment clip, everything goes black and white because everything contained in that adjustment clip creates that effect. Let's move this playhead to the first sound effect. You can hear it. It's like pretty noisy. This hole right here, this bullet hole, appears as this first visual effect takes place, and it's strictly a bullet hole. Within the inspector, which is right here, you can move that bullet hole, resize it, anything you want to do to make it look the way you want it to look. I wanted multiple gunshots, so I continued with the same effect with a different, hang on, there we go, with a different audio track. As you hear it, look at the viewer up here. And right around here, you'll see the bullet hole pop up. Okay, so that's that effect. And so on. There's the next bullet hole, there's the next bullet hole, the next, and the last. If you look, here's all the different tracks. There's the last one, the second to the last, third to the last, fourth to the last, and they all match up with their audio counterpart. That one goes with that one. The next one. Oh yeah. And so this one goes with that one, and that one goes with this one. These two are really close together because those two shots appear bang bang like that. All right, so let's keep on moving. So let's bring this back up again. And so as you go along, I have the next card. And that's where all my credits are right there. And then at this point, you see this little dark area here? That's so I just can fade out the projector. You could hear it die down. Oh, and by the way, this is an unedited version of the movie. And when I say unedited, I'm talking about the film track itself, not the effects and stuff like that. I just didn't want to spend the time doing it because you already saw the final results earlier. The next thing you hear, down here where it says crowd 1, that's where the crowd starts. That's a sound effect. I got that off of Freeform. And then also with that, the music starts. Okay, now see this right here? These are black bars, the curtains, which are these black bars here. The reason you see the frame here and then the sprocket hole is because, again, I didn't make any adjustments to it. And I did not color correct it. I didn't do anything. I didn't sharpen it. I just wanted you to see what's in this movie. I have a full tutorial on how to do all of that on this YouTube channel. All right, so now let's move on a little bit further. Let me slide this over. Whatever I saw on screen was my guide for the sound effects. Those guys are on dirt or gravel, so I use that type of sound effect. That's the sound effect of the gravel right there, where it says walking on gravel. And this right here is voiceovers. That's me doing the character voices. Okay, and here's the gravel. You can hear it real quick. I haven't adjusted any of the soundtracks. I'm just making it so you can hear it and understand what I did. The next thing you see is this one guy walking up to the other guys and he says, "What are you going to do?" So you can hear that. Okay, what are you going to do? Okay, let me turn this one off real quick. The walking, it might come out clear. There you go. And then the next thing is, I thought there should be a response, and that's, I'm going to set up there. That's what this track is. I'm going to eventually, which I already did obviously because you watched it already, make all of the adjustments to the soundtracks where everything sounds and blends in just right. But the main thing is you got to get the tracks first. And then I have spurs right here. You hear that little, like, a high pitch? But since there's multiple guys, I have multiple tracks with spurs, and I just kind of intermix them. And then the other guy goes, "I'm going up there," or something like that. Oh, I said, "Keep your heads up." I don't think that was in the original, though. I think I just kind of threw that in there. So let's turn off these tracks. And, okay, so we could just hear the audio.
What do you do? I'm going to sit up there. Keep your heads up.
Now, with the spurs and the adjustments, all of that will blend together when you eventually go into your audio section and make all the adjustments. In this case, it's called Fairlight. Continuing on. Okay, the next thing is you can see these guys right here are talking.
You wait back there.
So he says, "You wait back there," because he's pointing.
What are you looking at?
I did that for fun. I mean, all of this is for fun, but I thought it'd be funny if that guy, when he turned his head and made a comment like a tough guy, "What are you looking at?" Something like that. So let's see. Let's turn these off. Yeah.
What are you looking at?
Next is what's the plan?
What's the plan? Shoot them dead.
Okay, so what's the plan? Shoot them dead. Okay, again, I made up all this dialogue because I wanted it to seem like a real Western. All right, so now this is where all the action stuff comes in, and you have to visually figure out what sound effects you want to put based on what you see, just like we did earlier. So let's move the playhead. Okay, there's the first sound of a gunshot right there. See that flash right there? That's where the gunshot starts. And you can see the smoke. It's a pretty cool effect. And then the next one is... Okay, and then there's... Oh, that's somebody with a flash. I was thinking, is that a gunshot? Okay, there we go. Somebody in the crowd took a picture with a flash, so that's what that bright light was. There you go. That's the next shot. Okay, then there's another shot after that. You don't quite see that guy get shot because he's outside of the frame, off to the right side, but you do see him fall. prior to that guy falling, you do see the guy on the left shoot his gun in his direction. Now, what I did with that is the sound effect of the guy falling. The sound of that guy falling comes from just to the right. So what I did was I went into the Fairlight section, which is the audio section of this program. And let's do this. Let's go to the Fairlight. So now that I'm in the Fairlight section, you can see all of the tracks aren't the same. Well, right now, all of the volume's the same because I made no adjustments. But if you swing over here, there's 2 green dots here. That's because that's a stereo track. Every other track is set to mono. If you take a mono track and put it in stereo, it's only going to come out one speaker. But if you put a mono track in mono, which is 1.0, then it'll come out equally on both speakers. But since that guy fell off to the right a little bit, or he's off screen, where is it? Right there. See? Fall right. That's the name of that particular track. And then if you look, this one is dead center. That one's dead center. But this one I moved just slightly off right. So it creates the illusion that he's falling off screen. And then you all of a sudden see him hit the ground. Let's go back into the edit page. And that's the guy who was off screen. Okay, there's your next gunshot. What's nice is you can easily figure it out. Even, let's say this is a bowling movie, and I did have one of those. You do the same thing. You'd match up the sound of the bowling ball hitting the wooden lane, and you would match up that first sound, that thud, just before it starts rolling, with the visual of the ball touching the floor. So here, it's the same thing. You can hear the sound of the gunshot right there, and you can see the smoke and everything from that gun. So if I back this up, okay, and that sound effect of him going, ah, is right here. Okay, let's scroll up a little bit. I called that ouch. Oh boy. So anyway, there's that. And listen to how good this came out. That sound effect is a horse rolling on the ground. It doesn't matter what the sound effect is, as long as it works for your scene. All right, so let's move on. Okay, there's him walking, the sound effect. That's all of this right here. There's also some other problems with the soundtrack of the crowd. I cut it out of the regular movie, but there's like some pop in there, like somebody opened up a bottle cap or something, and then there's a couple of other noises in there. You can just cut them out, and it'll sound fine. You'll never notice because the entire soundtrack is random. So let's continue on. So that's a great sound effect right here. This time, the sound effect was a zebra rolling around on the ground. So listen to that again. That came out good. It's so much fun when you find the right sound effect. It's right there. And then I had to imagine what this guy said. Let me open this up a little bit. And here, I just assume he's announcing to everyone he's dead. So let's hear that. He's dead. Okay, and that's the final thing in this entire movie. Right there. He's dead. If you think your movie needs a character voice, like this one, you can just do it yourself. That's all I did with that doctor when he announced, he's dead. And the last thing you see is a grainy black and white freeze frame, which I did in Photoshop. I also put a text clip just above the black and white still frame. Then I keyframed the text so it would go from small to large. And that's where the music and projector soundtracks return as part of the conclusion of the movie. All right, and there's like a little squeak in there from that projector, and that I would cut out. And then finally, I wanted to play around and put in one last bullet hole. And there it is, right in the E. And fade to black, and that's the end of that. I always include additional information inside the description area for YouTube. What I do then is create a card inside of Photoshop, which lets the viewer know there is more information in the description area. That's that orange card. And that's it. And that's the end of the movie. As you can see, there's a lot you can do with these old movies. I had a lot of fun doing that Western one. I kind of went crazy on it. The vast majority of old Super 8 movies and regular 8 are silent. So you have a lot of boring movies out there. Even if you just add a music track, that'll be helpful. If you want to do more, like I did with that other movie, or the one you just saw, knock yourself out. It's a lot of fun. I think that's pretty much it, though. I've kind of covered the gamut. This is probably going to be my last video. When I say video, I mean video tutorial. I'll probably post some more of my movies, but as far as tutorials go, I think I've covered pretty much all you can cover when it comes to putting together a Super 8 movie, from digitizing to color correction, sound syncing, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't see anything more needed. Well, for those of you who do watch this, I really thank you for watching, and that's it. Thanks.